Hello, this is episode 2 of MTG Steam Brewery. This is my Selesnya aggro deck, which is called On the Sly. And we'll start out with lands. 7 plains, 7 forest, 3 Sunpetal Grove, and then 1 Gavin Township. In the 1-drop and creature slot, it's 2 Experiment Ones, 2 Wasteland Vipers, 4 Dryad Militant, 1 Machias the Lunarch. In the other 1-drops that are non-creatures, I have 2 Smites. What? Okay. 2 Fogs, 4 Abundant Growth, 4 Ethereal Armor, 4 Rancor as the non-creatures in 1-drops. On the 2-drop creatures is Knight of Valor, 1 of, 4 Call of the Conclave, 4 Fencing Ace, and then non-creatures, 1 Alpha Authority, and then 2 Blindo Beans. And on the 3-drops, there's 1 Selesnya Key Rune, 3 Oblivion Ring, and then 1 Hold the Gates. Now let's go over what cards do what. And the lands are pretty obvious, except let's go over Gavin Township. It is just a huge card. Against control decks, with all the board sweeps, you only need to play 1 creature when you get this out, and just have like Rancor on it. And this will kill them if they can't deal with it. They'll have to board sweep. They have no spot removal in order to kill your stuff. And this is really good because you can just refill the board with those Rancors because they always go back to your hand unless they stop it somehow. So, Township is a really good card. 2 Experiment Ones because it's just a 1-drop that can get bigger by itself with Evolve triggers. It can go all the way up to 3 unless I play Machias. It's not going to get any bigger than 3. And after it hits 2 counters, its ability to regenerate is really good against bigger creatures, or if they play the board sweeps that are not Terminus, just like Blasphemous Axe and Supreme Verdicts. So, 2 Wasteland Vipers, because it's, again, a 1-drop. It's a bit bigger. It has a 1-2 to start out with. Blood Rush of 1 green, which is really good on anything with Trample. But with Ethereal Armors and Rancors, it is just a ridiculous beat stick. Because First Strike Death Touch is really good, and you had Trample, it's just going to go through any chump blocks ever. They have to block with a lot, just so they don't die to a lot of damage from Wasteland Vipers. 4 Dryad Militants, because it's a really aggressive card. It's a 2-1 for 1, and sometimes its ability comes in useful, but more often than not, it's just 1-drop 2-1 that's really going to punch them in the face turn 2 with any kind of buff. So it's a really good card. And then 1 Machias, because he's just a really good card. He can enter either really big in the late game if I just top decking lands, or he can just make everything else huge eventually. And he's a really good threat, really promising. 2 Smites, because as this is an aggro deck, if it goes past the early turns and you go up against bigger creatures, you need to hit the brakes. And if you need to back up, this helps you stop them from killing you with big creatures. 2 Fogs, just because that's one of my favorite cards ever. And it really helps people tilt so they lose easier. And it's just a really good save yourself card. Really funny. 4 Abundant Growths, because it's just, I see it as 1 green, draw a card, enchantment. Occasionally the mana fixing is good, but it really just helps fuel Ethereal Armor and keep your hand the same size. It's really good in aggro. 4 Ethereal Armor, obviously, because with all these enchantments in the deck, it gets the guy really big. And obviously First Strike Death Touch or anything with a lot of Trample, this is really going to make a huge difference. Especially because it gives a buff to Toughness too, if they have a bigger guy. So, and then 4 Rancors, because Rancor is just a really good card. +2/+0 and Trample is always good. And the fact that it returns to your hand is just brutal. If you just play it early and just use 1 dude just to keep killing them. And if they kill that, you can just play another dude and put more Rancors on it. Because Rancor is hard to get rid of. And then next is Knight of Infamy. Simply because I had to cut another land, so this came in. And Pro Black is every now and then good, and since, obviously with all these enchantments, you kind of want to put all of it on 1 creature, so the Exalted can really help with Trample. And if there's Pro Black and they're playing black and it's just spot removal, this guy can, or these black dudes, this guy can just really go through that and just punch him in the face multiple times. 4 Call of the Conclave, because that's just a really good 2-drop. You get a 3/3 for 2 mana. Sometimes it's a downside because it's a token, so if they unsummon it goes away, but more often than not, this is going to be a really good card at turn 2. And then 4 Fencing Ace because it's a 2-mana double striker that really is good with Rancor, so it can just punch through for lots of damage early. And then 1 Alpha Authority because I don't have any more, and Hexproof. Since this isn't Bant, the Bant Auras deck in Standard, I don't have much Hexproof in the deck, so this is my only card that really gives Hexproof, which is good against anything with spot removal or unsummons, which really just crushes this deck as unsummon, because it just gets rid of all the enchantments, or they do it to get rid of Rancor. So, and its ability to can only be blocked by 1 or more creatures, by 1 creature, no more, and that's really good with Trample or big dudes, because Trample can just go over the small guy they have to block with. Of course, Blind Obedience, because it's 2 mana, it stops their blocks for a little while in the early plays, so it's really good. And Extort in a low curve deck is really, really good, because it just helps get that little bit of extra damage, and sometimes just that little bit, if it wasn't there, you wouldn't be able to kill him. So it's really good. Got the 1 key rune here, because I couldn't really find much space for key runes, but it gets past any board sweeps, and it helps ramp, help play for Extort, or every now and then when you just get pure white and you don't get any green, this guy can help fix mana. So otherwise, just usually 2 mana, 3/3, put Rancors on it, because Rancors go back to your hand at the end of turn. 3 O-Rings, because that's really just good catch-all removal, which is, as this deck, if they have Planeswalker control or anything and they get those out and running, it's hard to kill those. So these really help with that. And then Hold the Gates is just there because 3 mana your creatures have Vigilance, which is really good in a weenie deck with a bunch of First Strike and Trample, because you can still go on the offense and be defensive if you need to. So that's this deck, and thank you for watching the show. See you next time.